Hi everybody, this is Dr. B with Dr. B Addiction Recovery. Welcome back to the channel. As you know, the topics we discuss on this channel are all about substance abuse, many opiate issues, and related topics. As always, we try to bring you scientific data, evidence-based medicine, mix them with clinical experience, and distill it down for you in a way that you can digest it, giving you some formal understanding and framework to think about an area that could be scary, mysterious, and extremely dangerous if you don't have the right information. Let's get on with our methamphetamine series, and I hope I give you some critical thought and an approach to reality so that it saves your life. The particular issue today I call the methamphetamine trap, and this is not found in the scientific literature, so let me say that up front, but it comes from my own extensive clinical experience for what that's worth. This particular trap you often see with chronic and more long-term opiate users, and usually inhalation and intravenous use type. I don't see it as much with people that are still at the stage where they're taking pills. And when I am doing my medical clinical interview, more often than not, it creeps in there, if it's new onset of methamphetamine use, that they are also using methamphetamines once or twice a week. Immediately, this is followed by, oh, but I'm not addicted to that. I'm just adding it to get an extra high. Oh, but I can quit that at any time. Oh, that's just out of boredom. There's a whole million different responses I get when I ask, oh, you're using methamphetamines as well? And there's almost like a knee-jerk defense mechanism regarding that issue. I always stop the patient or the client and I point out, please be careful, you're dancing with the devil, and this is going to become a real monkey on your back. And before you know it, we have two major problems versus one. And everybody always says, yes, I got this under control, and I can't think of anybody that's ever had it under control. It always becomes a problem. And this kind of begs a couple of questions. Why does this happen? I can only speculate and take an educated guess, and this is a long-term drug user, opiate user. Number one, their critical thinking and judgment is poor by definition of long-term use and abuse. Number two, there is a sort of euphoric desensitization that goes on the longer you use a drug, and they're looking for something to add to it so they can actually catch that dragon, which is so elusive, and it's oftentimes chased, but you never seem to catch it. And it seems to be at that stage that maybe the methamphetamines is slowly introduced with this kind of denial, sort of in the same way that there's a lot of denial about COVID-19, how it came about, and whether it's real or not. But in this case, I'm dealing with a population that has a clinical medical problem. So there's always this denial. Another thing to think about when you're talking about the introduction and use of meth, it creates a lot of problems on my end. And the reason it creates a lot of problems on my end is simply because I don't have any solid evidence for any medication I can use to replace it. I can talk about all of the immunomodulators and the hormones and synaptic issues that are occurring with methamphetamine use and try and guess using different drugs, whether it's antidepressants and so forth, to mitigate and deal with the short-term and long-term withdrawals. But this is a highly addicting substance, and we don't have the same clinical tools as we do for opiates to combat it. And in addition, there's one other thing to think about before you take that lunge into the methamphetamine trap. Although we can say opiates are toxic and corrosive in the short term and long term, whether we're talking about in terms of pathophysiology or behavioral or psychological or emotional effects, methamphetamines take it to a different level. This is not the same methamphetamines that used to be around years ago. This stuff is garbage if you're into consuming that stuff. It's garbage. It's got 100 different ways, and it's produced in laboratories that there is no regulation under. So the effect of that garbage is it is extremely corrosive to your nervous system and body parts. So if you go down that road and fall into this trap, you have to understand that on this end, it's so much more difficult and additional work and shooting in the dark to try to clinically deal with this issue. So when you get to that stage, or if you know someone at that stage, please understand that you're making a very impulsive, poor decision to add methamphetamines to an already raging fire of opiate use and abuse. It's going to go horribly wrong. We don't have the same strong clinical tools for it in terms of pharmacotherapy to be able to combat it like we do with opiates, which doesn't mean you should become a heroin addict since we have some medication for it, because even that's very difficult and takes quite some time. And finally, it is extremely corrosive to your body, to your mind, and to your emotional well-being. Thank you very much. I look forward to the upcoming series that I discussed earlier. Please go ahead and click on the videos above to my left if you want to explore more on the methamphetamine series. If you did like this video and you do like these videos, I would appreciate it if you went ahead and click the subscribe button to my left as well as the like button. See you soon.